This video and other social media posts are for religious educational purposes only. No one involved in the social media pages or multimedia messages are lawyers, and nothing in this, or any other message or social media post, is to be taken as legal advice.
Alarum bal jate vartor narvore, as we say in the traditional Mandela. In English, it translates to welcome and good morning, my brothers and sisters. I am Udesla Jorir, co-founder of the Way of The Mandalore Religious Movement. This religion is a registered domestic nonprofit in the state of Ohio and a legal 501c3 private charity. As always, we thank you and welcome you once again to the sermon messages for the Way of the Mandalore Religious Movement. These videos are produced in order to help you understand more about who we are and what we believe, and we sincerely hope they do. Our last two sermon message videos addressed a few of the more frequently asked questions about our religion, and we will be continuing that conversation here in this video. Mandalorian FAQ Part 3. Now, as promised, in this video message, we will be addressing a topic that has drawn more than a little bit of controversy among our various social media outlets. More specifically, in regards to the sermon message video for Tenet 3, Never Initiate Violence. And this may get under some people's skins, but hopefully this will lead to productive conversations from both inside and outside the faith. Does being a keeper of the way mean that I cannot be a police officer or join the military? First and foremost, this is a complicated issue with a lot of nuance, so we thank you for bearing with us as it is explained. Sincere apologies for keepers and seekers outside of the US, but this is largely an American issue, so a lot of the references and points made here will be focused mostly on the United States. The short and quick answer to that question is yes, but again, bear with us. Being a keeper of the way, that is to claim to be a Mandalorian and to keep the way to the best of your ability, means that you sincerely hold to your religious beliefs in spite of pressures that try to force you into violating or compromising certain aspects of it. And this includes your chosen profession. Let's add a bit of context here by saying that all members of the board of directors and a great number of active keepers of the way are former military or former law enforcement. And past involvement is not and should not ever be made an issue. The reasons why Mandalorians should not actively seek out these positions if they wish to keep the way can be broken down into two separate categories: the practical and the philosophical. Let's start with the practical. As addressed in numerous other posts and videos, as keepers of the way, we are to remain both armed with a firearm and wear at least one piece of practical armor at all times unless we are alone, in keeping with Tenets 1 and 2. As anyone currently employed by law enforcement or the military can tell you, their current regulations regarding carrying weapons and uniform codes do not always accommodate these tenets in most situations. Sometimes they do, but not in any way that can allow a Mandalorian to consistently keep Tenets 1 and 2 as established. As an example, while on base, or even on some specific posts within law enforcement, one cannot carry a firearm or wear any specific type of religious armor that we, as Mandalorians, are required to. These situations alone preclude one from honestly keeping the way in such a profession. Now, there are exceptions for being unarmed and unarmored for medical care and other similar situations, but the exceptions to these tenets do not extend to the internal policies of one's profession. So simply on a practical level, these professions would require you to violate the first two tenets of our faith, And in such situations, you would have to make the choice as to which you value more, your religious beliefs or your employer's policies. Now, on a philosophical level, things tend to become a bit more heated and sometimes even politically divisive, though it is certainly not intended to be. And as a religion, we hold no political affiliation, nor do we officially endorse any political party or candidate. A lot of the confusion and questions surrounding this topic come from our video regarding Tenet 3, Never Initiate Violence. In that video, we addressed a number of issues that could cause conflict for someone claiming to be a Mandalorian while engaging in activities that violate the tenets. And for the sake of clarity, let's be clear. If such things as extortion of fines or property, or quote-unquote, just following orders, or initiating violence, or using your profession as a shield against criticism, if those things do not apply to you, then they do not apply to you. If you keep Tenet 3 and you do not escalate situations or do not engage in extortion activities, and you keep Tenet 4 and stand up for those who cannot defend themselves, and you keep Tenet 7 and you do not engage in profiling or presuming guilt or even suspicion based on anything other than that person's individual actions, if you do not extend blind loyalty to those who share your profession or seek to excuse their abusive or violent behaviors, and are one of the brave few who openly speak out against such offenses, if you do not hide behind or attempt to justify these behaviors as they're just doing their job, then this does not apply to you. If you truly and honestly keep the way and your job allows you to investigate, pursue, and apprehend those who have committed violent acts against the innocent and bring them to justice, if you engage in manhunts against sexual predators, thieves, murderers, human traffickers, and other violent criminals, then this does not apply to you. If you are involved in task forces or search parties to find missing children or victims of kidnapping, or are engaged in protective details to defend witnesses or survivors of these crimes and provide them safety and security, this does not apply to you.
Come on, sweetheart. You're safe. You're gonna be okay.
That's an important distinction that needs to be made as clear as possible, because it can cause confusion on a philosophical level, especially when it comes to others who share a profession but do not share a worldview, let alone share a faith. This needs to be said to some people in those professions who wish to be Mandalorians. In keeping with Tenet 7, the fact that other people have the same job as you does not mean that you are to excuse them for their behavior. Just as internally, Tenet 10 teaches us that being loyal to our Vode does not mean to condone every action they commit, so we must, as Mandalorians, if we honestly and truly wish to keep the way. Along with Tenet 10, Tenet 4 shows us that we must be vocal and speak out against the abuses that others may commit, even if they share the same profession. Now, this can be as simple with minor offenses as speaking with them privately to counsel them, or going to superiors, or even to the public, depending heavily on the individual situation. Similar situations arise in military professions. You may be called upon in your jobs to commit violence against those individuals who have not initiated the conflict. And yes, this can even extend to some support professions which do not see direct combat. To be fair, this particular aspect of support personnel could easily be applied to any number of different professions outside of law enforcement or the military. But the difference here is usually the active role in direct support. Just as an individual who follows certain other religions cannot, depending on their religious sects, take a position that would involve direct contact with certain animals, or dispense alcohol or caffeinated beverages, or be employed in establishments that sell sexual materials, or anything else that might make one violate their religion. So also should keepers of the way not seek out such employment that could require them, in the course of their job duties, to violate the tenets of the way. Ultimately, the choice to actively seek out such employment is up to the individual. Absolutely. But they should be aware that the requirements of these professions will almost certainly result in conflicts with your religion. And we encourage those who are honestly seeking to keep the way, who are also currently employed in such professions, to hold fast and keep the way the best that you can until you find another opportunity that does not cause such conflicts with your religion. The main thing that you should take away from this stance is this: the way the system stands right now is largely not compatible with keeping the way. Are there possible exceptions? Of course there are. But overwhelmingly, the system in its current state could call upon Mandalorians to violate tenets 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 10. The harsh truth of the matter is that religious conflicts within any number of different professions happen every day. People are asked, expected, or ordered to violate their religious beliefs just because it's a part of their job. And law enforcement and military are no exceptions. And in such situations where you are ordered to or expected to violate the tenets in the course of your duty, and it has been said before in this video and elsewhere, then you will have to look within yourself and make the choice as to which you value more: your religion or following orders or policies that violate your religion. And there we will end our initial sermon message series regarding frequently asked questions about the Way of the Mandalore. Rest assured, there will be more similar videos in the future. So if you still have questions you would like addressed in future videos, you can submit them here in the comment section, or in any of our various social media platforms using this QR code, or simply clicking the link tree in the description, and we will get to them at an appropriate time. As always, we thank you for your continued support as we seek to spread the way to those who will hear. Until next time, Vore, Florentie, Manduare, Balkir, Maruchik, Ibik Runi. Thank you, brothers and sisters, and be safe. This is the way.